morning. Welcome back to Coaching Conversations. I'm Maria Savio.
And I'm Lourdes Laper. Stay with us right to the end for some practical practices you can use right away.
So I want to start with a moment we all probably experienced this week because we're all on social media all the time. You're scrolling maybe after a long day and you see this absolutely perfect influencer, the effortless glow, the seamless life, the vacation that looks like a movie set. And what happens? You feel this immediate sharp pang. You feel that little squeeze inside, like, what am I even doing with my life?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, we're all presented with, like, on a daily basis, the opportunity to feel less than, right? And it's a gut punch. And suddenly you're not just looking, you aren't just scrolling, you're spiraling. We end up feeling like our lives are so much harder while everyone else's looks so easy and effortless, which, let's be honest, it translates into this kind of self-talk of, I'm behind, I'm failing, I should be further along. And it's not just envy, it's a form of like emotional defeat. We give up a piece of our contentment to the allure of that perfect image.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. It's not envy because it really isn't. You get that gut punch, and it's something that has to do with ourselves, right? It's not about envy. But yeah, I do want to mention that I saw this pink rhinestone Rolls Royce. It was wrapped. It was a Rolls Royce wrapped in the rhinestone, and it was beautiful. And I thought, wow, for a fleeting moment, I thought, wow, I must be doing something wrong. But these images, they're designed to bypass our critical thinking. That's what I told myself. And I realized that, I wasn't using my reasoning, right? That curated experience, the viral videos that we see on TikTok or Instagram, they come at us at like the big, shiny, perfect thing. But here's the problem we need to probe. We're operating under the false belief that power is in the thing itself. We don't realize that it's in the way our mind constructs it. It's our perspective, how we're seeing things. And we treat these, external things, this car, um, distractions, desires, even big fears, like we treat them like they're, or we receive them like they're big fears, like they're solid or these unchangeable mountains.
Yeah, I mean, that reminds me of the Wayne Dyer quote, when we change the way that we look at things, the things we look at change. I didn't quite get that quote in my 20s, but I totally get it now. and, and so when we treat something as like huge or solid and unchangeable mountain, what happens? We feel small, we feel powerless, and it's unsurmountable, right? So today we're sharing a discipline for mastering your mind and your thoughts, and it's the power of deconstruction. We're gonna hit the mental pause button and show you how to zoom in until all the lights and magic and fanciness fade.
Yeah. And, the core wisdom we're tapping into is this: breaking things down. When you see the parts clearly, the distractions, they lose their power. And we need to do this because we're manipulated every single day. But here's the truth: nothing is magic when you zoom in. The distraction, it loses its power when you break it down into all of those smaller parts.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, modern life is engineered to present these polished, perfect images, these wholes, edited perfection, seamless moments. And the illusion is effortless beauty, effortless success, effortless love. But behind every shiny hole is a bunch of ordinary parts. lighting, filters, editing, sponsorship copy, or in real life, routines, repetition, mistakes, learning curves, and bad days.
Yeah, the misguided self-talk is, if it looks easy, then it should be easy. And then the companion belief that we have with that is that, if you don't feel like it's easy, if I don't feel like it's easy for me, then it's not for me. I'm out, right? You're just in you're just comparing your your actions to the backstage. Let me just say this right. You're comparing your backstage to someone else's highlight reel.
Yeah, and that's so easy to do, right? We don't see the effort that went
Mhm.
into the finished, polished, perfection. And and it's not just envy, it's also fear talking. When something feels big, a conversation, a project, a change, your mind blends all those parts into one overwhelming monster. And then the false belief um, is that, if it's big, it means it's impossible. When really, big just means a lot of small pieces that you haven't named yet. And then, you know, like think of a news story that sends your anxiety soaring or sends you right into overwhelm, fight or flight. It feels like one huge terrifying blob or of, an inevitable disaster. And then this is where we fall for a dangerous false narrative. The severity of the situation demands my immediate high intensity emotional reaction. And we think that feeling panicked means that we care or that reaction is helpful, but the intense emotional hole is actually paralyzing, and it's detrimental to your health.
Oh yeah, you get that, cortisol just running through you, and that's totally unhealthy. But you're reacting to the combination of the sound, the imagery, and the dramatic language from those anchors trying to just keep you hooked and watching their show. But what if you deconstructed it, right? If you break the news story down into, reliable sources, verifiable facts, future projections, historical data, and what is actually within your personal sphere of control. When you see the parts, often mundane facts mixed with a lot of editorial speculation, the emotional charge, it just diminishes. It just drops. The fear loses its grip on you, and you can return to being calm and centered.
Yeah, and this idea of source reliability and verifiable facts and kind of looking for your sphere of control. What can you do? We're not advocating that you don't do that. We are advocating that you look, instead of staying in overwhelm, maybe you look to see, well, what is in my sphere of control? What can I do? we're not
Mhm.
we're not saying, don't be active, don't do something. We're saying look at it from a reasoned point of view and figure out what is in your sphere of control. What active part can you play in a situation? um, so we're also not advocating for cynicism. We're aiming for like a form of detachment, in removing the emotional filter so that you can see the ordinary reality
Mhm.
behind the perceived glamour or fear. It's not about letting the whole thing bypass your critical and rational mind. It's a time to start asking questions.
Yeah, it's so important, to start asking questions. That's exactly what we need to do. And then Also, we want to talk about that deeper need. Why do we let the seamless, perfected whole pull us in the beginning? And often the emotional root is a desire for effortlessness and ease. We don't like life to be challenging. We hate it. We hate obstacles. We want everything to be easy peasy. And we see the polished life somebody else has on Instagram, and we crave the feeling that success can be easy. So we stay, passive viewers scrolling for the magic answer. But and then we become emotionally entangled, and we're dissatisfied and unhappy.
And that's at the heart of the belief I must be doing something wrong. Other people have figured it out. They figured out how to make it simple and easy. Why isn't it simple and easy for me? It's so easy to go into that negative loop. But, let's be honest. This thinking translates into I'm behind, I'm failing, I should be further. And this false belief keeps us stuck. We have this illusion of an overnight success, but fail to recognize the time and the effort that preceded the success. All the stuff that we didn't see, like, with the Beatles, they had been practicing their craft for years before their American invasion. And that's true for many successful careers and businesses. The challenge that feels overwhelming, say, starting a new business, isn't overwhelming because it's hard. It's overwhelming because we look at it as one massive abstract whole, and we begin to immediately compare it and ourselves to those who have been doing it for decades.
Right. We see the end result, and we want, and we have no idea what all the steps will be. And this lack of knowing is the source of our fear, because we don't know what it's going to take. And we're afraid of the failures and the obstacles that we're going to experience trying to take it on. And then that other part of us is still, clinging to the illusion that it should be easy because it seems so easy on those highlight reels. So the pivotal practice here is to apply the deconstruction lens to your own life and to whatever you're facing. You have to deconstruct your overwhelm and whatever challenge you have, that big fear, or even your sense of identity.
Yeah. And so, why does the brain do this? Why does it fuse pieces into a shiny fantasy or a terrifying story? Because wholeness feels safer than complexity. If it's one thing, the brain can either chase it or avoid it. It's primitive wiring. The amygdala loves simple labels: good versus bad, safe versus threat, me versus them. But mastering your mind means upgrading to the higher brain, the part that can examine, break down, and choose consciously.
Yeah, we live in that duality, right? We think that things are black and white, when in actuality it's mostly gray. And this isn't about cynicism. We're not saying nothing special. We're saying when you see clearly, you choose wisely.
Mm, yeah, so true. So, think of your life's identity, your big goals, or your biggest stressor, not as a gigantic oil painting, but as a digital photograph, a picture made up of millions of tiny individual pixels, right? And when you look at the grand oil painting, the whole thing, you see overwhelming beauty or overwhelming complexity. But when you zoom in on the digital photo, you see the individual pixels, the parts. And each pixel is just a tiny dot of color, just a single moment, a single choice, a single 15-minute task.
Yeah, and here's the power of the pixel. You can edit a pixel. You can't easily change the entire painting, but you can change one choice, one action, one color, one moment by regularly examining your life as a collection of these simple pixels, moments, and choices. And you reduce the emotional hold of that big thing, that overwhelming thing. And you can become the master editor of your own life scripts.
Yeah. People, goals, and anxieties, they're all like that museum painting, right? Far away, they feel massive. Up close, they're strokes, steps, choices, habits, glitches, and attempts. When you zoom in, you don't lose the beauty, you discover truth and permission. Permission to be human, to try, to learn, to not have it be perfect. And here's some like everyday examples. If you feel jealous of someone's success, zoom in and recognize their repetitions, their failures, their routines, their sacrifices, and the boring practice. If you're afraid to start the project, zoom in, break it down, one page, one call, one open tab.
Right. And if you're feeling stressed about your life path, well, zoom in. Today's decision, this hour, this phone call, this step, this conversation. And then if you're triggered by someone's confidence, then, again, zoom in. Practiced self-talk, probably some insecurity under there as well. So when you really break it down, you stop being intimidated and you start being empowered. And it's so important that self-empowerment builds so much. And master your mind and you're going to master your life. Understand that the quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts.
Absolutely. Because that's what drives our behavior, right? And so this isn't just theory. We're giving you a tangible 4-step deconstruction framework you can use the next time you feel a strong emotional pull, whether it's a huge distraction, an intense desire, or an overwhelming fear. So start with mindfulness. Hit the pause button. Recognize I'm reacting. Let me step back. Take one breath in for 4 seconds and hold it for 4 and out for 4. Hold it for 4. It's basic box breathing. And repeat it a couple of times. Feel your feet on the floor to allow you to feel grounded. Drop your shoulders. Perhaps they've, found their way up to your ears. So, take these specific steps to recenter yourself in this mindfulness practice, and then question, dismantle the whole ask. What are the pieces here for a social post? It's lighting, captions, edits, and angles, right? And for fear, it's an elevated heartbeat, a story, right? Maybe you've gone into story mode, images and assumptions. And for a project, it's about the email, the outline, the first call, maybe the Google search. By naming the parts, we're defanging the emotions.
Right. And reframe, find the truth. Acknowledge the illusion of simplicity is gone. The parts are plain. The thread is specific, not abstract anymore. And ask, now that the emotional charge is diminished, what is within my control? Or, zoomed in reality beats zoomed out fantasy. The answer is almost always, virtue and right action, clarity, honesty, integrity, and small, correct next steps. And then take action. Edit the pixel. Take the most rational, reliable next step that aligns with your virtues and responsibilities. For example, I'll spend 15 minutes organizing the project, writing that email, or submitting the proposal, whatever it is, because action rewires the brain faster than inspiration. And this framework is how you stop being a passive viewer and become the editor of your life, the master of your life, the person in control. And you realize that some things, they don't deserve your energy. Your energy belongs to what you can control and what you can influence.
Yes, your mind deserves to be a sanctuary, not a carnival ride. Detach from illusions by understanding them. And when you see life clearly, you get your power back.
Yeah, we want to leave you with a quote from our soon to be released book, A Path to Resilience, Small Steps to an Unshakable You. Break things down. When you see the parts clearly, distractions lose their power.
The world will always try to present you with the finished painting, and your power is remembering the brushstrokes, the pixels in the digital image. So the next time you feel behind, overwhelmed, or hypnotized by someone else's life, whisper to yourself, zoom in, break it down, choose the next step.
Yeah, whatever, you feel pulled you, just pause and name the 5 parts, break it down, then, pick one viable action.
Thanks so much for being here. We're walking this path right alongside you. Take care of your heart, take care of your mind, take care of yourself. Support our work by liking, following, subscribing, and sharing this with someone who needs the reminder that they're stronger than they think they are. We'll see you next time.